Bow to me, son of Jor-El. Kneel before Zod. That felt good. Always wanted to say that. Hello, heroes and villains. Welcome to Multiverse. Today, we are going to take a look at the evil Zod. So let's get this party started. Early on in this Universe Online, one of the Zod set of gear we had in the game was the Zone Walker set of gear. Not sure why they made it available for both heroes and villains, but somehow, if you guys saw the Jim Lee Azzarello miniseries, Superman of Man of Tomorrow, or something like that, basically Zod, this is how Zod was portrayed in that series. Although in retrospect, I'm not sure if it was supposed to be a dream, an alternate reality, an alternate dream reality or something. But in the comic, this is pretty much how Jim Lee represented our friend Zod. It's not exactly it. Obviously, there's a little too much red. Like, I wanted to have the round, the circle on the chest red, but it puts a lot of the costume red if I do that. So it's not exactly it color-wise, but it's about as close as I was able to get to the look of the comics. Which brings us to our first issue with Zod. Whenever there was a new creative team on Superman, and whenever there was a new storyline with Zod, they felt that they had to reinvent the wheel pretty much every time, and they would try to create a new Zod. We'll try to take a look at least a few of those Zods in this video, but it's going to be a bit challenging to be able to look at all the Zods. Especially, I wasn't able to recreate the Zod from Batman vs Superman, and I wasn't able to recreate the Zod also from the Krypton TV series. We have a few sets of gear in this Universe Online with the Zod Emblem, or at least an emblem that is supposed to be the Zod Emblem. Again, from creative team to creative team, the emblem changes all the time. You'll see that when we get to the Zod Emblem we have in the game. So way back when, this is pretty much how they would interpret or decide that the Zod Emblem should be. So we got the Sunstone Bulwark, and if you're wondering why I have it twice, basically it's the evil villain version. There's a hero version with the Superman emblem, and there's an evil villain version with the Zod emblem. It's a set of gear that you can get from the Hall of Doom if you play an evil villain. If you go to the meta wing, you will see there's 3-4 vendors that sells those sets of gear. So that is where you can get the Sunstone Bulwark. And as you can see, it's a very, very bulky set of armor. I'm not sure why at some point they would make the armors bigger and bigger as you would go up in tier. Basically, we'd start with a character that pretty much had a slimline, then it would get armor, and by the time you reach tier 3, you had those huge bulky armors that were supposed to be Kryptonian armors. And this version here is supposed to be the tank version. So you have to be an evil villain to be able to buy this version, and you have to be a tank character as well. And then we got the Sunstone Edge. Again, there's the hero version with the Superman emblem, which we can barely see because it's too bright, too bright. And we have the evil version with the Zod emblem. So this version here should be the DPS version, so you have to be an evil villain. And everyone should be able to purchase it from the Hall of Doom if you are an evil villain. It's something I used at some point to be able to recruit our friend Doomsday, like for the hands and the shoulders, to try to bulk up the character a bit. And then we have the healer version, the Kryptonian Medico. It gives us a nice big emblem, but holy crap, is it a bulky set of gear. And for the controller version, we have the Kryptonian Commander. So again, you can see that holy crap, is it big and bulky. Especially the back piece. I have to admit, I don't think I ever really used that suit before. Although on the hero side, at some point I would use the chest piece for the Superman emblem. Actually, I used the belt also quite on a few occasions. And then we have the Phantom Zone Reaver. It used to be a PvP set of gear, but at some point it was removed from the PvP vendors, and it was added to the PvP style vendor. So you still have to play PvP a lot to be able to get this style, but you have to purchase it from the style vendor. It's no longer a set of gear that you can purchase. At some point they made a whole bunch of changes to PvP, and they pretty much changed all the PvP gear, and some of the older PvP gear like this one was added to a PvP style vendor. And then more recently, they gave us a few new styles that allows us to create a pretty cool looking Zod in this universe online. So they gave us the Zod Emblem, which is something that a lot of people have been asking for. Actually, we almost got a new Zod set of gear. Basically, they had this contest where people could go and vote for the style they wanted to have, and Zod was one of the styles that was part of that contest. Blue Beetle ended up winning, but the fact that Zod was on the list, it gives us hope that eventually we might get a new Zod set of gear. I guess we'll have to wait and see for that. So here we can see the Zod Emblem. The emblem comes from the 6th dimension Kryptonian time capsule, but it is a rare drop. Also, what you saw was the enhanced version of the emblem, but there's also a regular version of the emblem. The better option to be able to get the emblem is to just buy it from the broker. So here you can see right now it's 2.4 million on the broker, which is pretty cheap all things considered. And ironically enough, the regular version of the emblem is a bit more expensive. So here you can see the regular version of the emblem. It doesn't shine like the enhanced version, obviously. And I have to give my usual broker warning. Prices on the broker changes all the time. These are the prices on the broker right now. Tomorrow, next month, next week, heck, later tonight, the prices could be different. Also in the 6th dimensional Kryptonian time capsule, they gave us the 6th dimension Kryptonian style, which ironically enough works pretty darn well to be able to recreate our friend Zod. Here I'm using the chest piece, the belt, and the pants. For the back piece, I went with the tattered cape so that our friend Zod could have a tattered cape. For the gloves, I went with the Argus operative. He had some sort of armored gloves, and these look close enough to the look I needed. For the boots, the Gotham Outlaw worked well enough, so I went with that. And there is the Kryptonian kerchief accessory. From what I understand, it's something that is inspired directly from our friend Zod. For the shoulders, I just went with the spindrift shoulders so that we could have some extra Zod emblems on our Zod character. You could use a handful of other shoulders, more armored type looking shoulders if you prefer. So even though the 6th dimension Kryptonian time capsule is supposed to give us some Superman inspired gear, it actually works better to recreate our friend Zod somehow. And as I mentioned, in the comics, sadly, whenever a new creative team would create let's say a new storyline with our friend Zod, they would feel like they had to either redesign the character or sometimes completely reinvent the character. So throughout the years, we had quite a few versions of Zods, and sadly, none of those versions really ever stood the test of time. Usually, whenever we get a new creative team that comes into the Superman comics, they decide to reinvent Zod one more time. Here we have a version from I think it was Jeff Jones and Andy Kubert who did a Superman storyline where we saw our friend Zod. And this is more or less how Zod did look in that comic. I cheated a bit and I gave him the Zod emblem. He shouldn't have that emblem, but that emblem is too nice not to use. So for the headpiece, I'm using the Banished Kryptonian headpiece. It's pretty much, again, straight inspired by our friend Zod from that comic by Jeff Jones and I always forget if it's Andy or Adam Kubert, one of the two Kuberts. For the chest piece, I simply went with the trench coat. I guess the Vengeful Surgeon could have done the trick, or the classic duster if you prefer. For the hands, pretty much any short gloves will do the trick. Here I went with the DC Bombshell Harley Quinn gloves. No need for a waist, we don't see the waist with the trench coat anyway. The pants I went with the cargo. And the boots I went with the Arctic gear, but there's a handful of boots I could have used instead. And it gives us a version of Zod that kind of looks like the version we had in the comics at some point. We even have that version of Zod in the game in various missions. And of course, we have Zod from Superman 2. We can get pretty darn close to the look of the character. It's not exactly it, but again, within the context of DC Universe Online, this is as close as we can get. For the chest piece, I went with the Abracadabra chest piece. For the pants, I went with the Tech Ninja. And I went with the spats for the boots. I thought I could enhance the look with the stealth material. Not really. In the movie, Zod had some sort of shiny black fabric, but nothing that looked like this. So even though we had a whole bunch of technically Zod-inspired set of gear in this universe online, like a lot of gear, it was supposed to be inspired by Zod, but look, it looked nothing really like Zod, other than maybe the Zone Walker, and even then. But now we actually have a nice Zod Emblem to be able to recreate our friend Zod. So we do have a few options to be able to recreate Zod within this universe online. It's not perfect just yet, but as they add more and more styles to the game, we should have more and more options to be able to recreate the evil Zod. If you have any questions, feel free to ask so in the comment section down below, and I'll see what I can do about answering your questions. I have roughly 2,000 videos about this universe online at this point, so if I don't answer your question right away, just search in my videos. Odds are I already made a video that answers your question. Or click one of the videos that you see on your screen right now. Bye-bye.